G'day, Stu from UAVfutures here, and today we're checking out, well, it's actually one of these, but it actually comes in kit form right here. So this is the GB210. Now what this is I guess like a bit of a basic kit. So it comes with your carbon frame, your flight controller, and your motors and your ESCs. So a little bit different to some of the things we actually are used to. And something pretty cool, this was actually sent to me as part of, like, it turned up in the mail as part of Gearbest's like 11/11 sale or something like that. But the cool thing is, we actually have 3 of them, so I'll be able to be actually giving some of these away, and I'll talk about that a little bit more at the end of the video. But that's pretty exciting. So what we're going to be doing, we're going to be sticking the kit on the bench. We'll have a look at everything that it comes with, give it a bit of a review, and then we'll take it out and I'll show you some flight footage of this bad boy flying around. Alright, let's get started. Alrighty, so here's everything laid out on the bench and a bit of an overview of everything that you get. So you're going to get your frame, so you've got your clone frame right here. It's also going to come with a velcro strap and all the bits of hardware, the nuts and bolts and those sort of bits. You're already going to get a pre-made XT60 connector right there. You're going to get 4 props. Very interesting that they're rocking these sort of props actually. You've got a very, very simple PDB, a cool little F3 flight controller, your 4 motors, and also your 4 ESCs. Now the first thing I want to do, let's jump in and have a look at the carbon frame. Alrighty, so here it is, and I guess it's called the GB210 because it is a 210 sized quadcopter, and you can see the distance from here to here across its wheelbase is 210 millimeters, and it's designed to either rock some 1806 motors or also some 2200 size motors. So and I've got to say, I just want to point this out right here. This is a clone of the QAVX because the QAVX is a very, very cool frame, and it looks almost identical to this. I know there's another one on Banggood too. I think the Real ACC brand or the Real App brand, they've got a very, very similar one, a clone of like these. So there's a few out there, but that's because it is a really, really cool compact little frame, and it is great, I guess, for recording because it still has a really, really small space, but makes it very, very easy to mount a camera to. Right, yeah, so let's have a look at the actual base plate. Alrighty, now I did get my little multimeter out, and I can confirm that this is real carbon, but the weave does look a little bit different to what I'm used to. So I do notice that it looks a little bit different on the outside. Let's measure it. It is 4 millimeters thick, so it should be pretty good in a crash. Hopefully you guys can see that, so it should be very, very resistant. But one thing I do note, I feel like there is a little bit of flex in this frame, and that's probably more apparent after looking at, I guess, the Helix from Impulse RC. I couldn't flex that thing at all, but I feel like I can definitely flex this one a little bit. So I think the quality of the carbon is not quite as good as some of the better ones out there. Yeah, like I said before, it's 210 millimeters from motor to motor, 22 size motors, or 1806 motors, and then you've got your Velcro straps right here on the bottom because this one is designed for an undermounted battery, so you can see those 2 straps right here. You've got these 2 little sections, which, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure what they would be for, whether you're going to zip tie something down, maybe you want to tie your XT60 down or something like that, or maybe it's for a little bit of protection from the front. You've got your 4 little standoff holes, and that's for your flight controller PDB, your little stack, and then just 4 standoffs as well. So fairly simple, little robust sort of frame. And one thing I will point out just here, I do like how the frame comes in and it's on a curve, because anybody who's done any designing with frames knows you don't want any stress points, and curves really help alleviate and spread the load in an impact or when the carbon's under stress. So I think that's great that sort of that has that in the design, so it should be fairly resistant and hold up quite well in crashes. Rightio, let's have a look at some of the other plates. Now this part that comes with it, this part, it's not too exciting, but it's just 1.5 millimeters thick, and that is simply a strap that goes around and that protects your battery. So it's going to be on the bottom of your battery, so if you have a really hard impact underneath and this thing hits the ground, hopefully you're going to protect your battery a little bit. Then we actually get a really, really cool little camera mounting system. Now the way this works, the QAVX has a very, very smart design because it simply pops in just here, and this is unlike any other frame that I've really seen before. I think this is the first one that I've seen do it. That goes on here, and your camera is actually mounted in the top of the frame. It's actually a little bit hard to show you unless I had another set of hands, but essentially I'll be able to show you with one. What happens, that goes on here, the front clips on like this, and I'll be able to show you a picture, and that is where you mount your camera, in that top little part right there. So it's actually mounted above the frame, which means it's also going to double up as an awesome GoPro holder. So I really like that, and it also enables you to have a really small stack. So it's almost getting to that pod size, because I know pods can be, they're trying to centralize all that mass. That same sort of thing is happening right here. Now if we look at the width of this, I think it's 2 millimeters on the, yeah, 2 millimeters on the top. The little side plates, I think they're 1.5 millimeters thick. You do get this little bit which is like a bit of a bridge which sits together on the top, and then the last little part that I do like, so in your top plate right here, it does have a few cutouts and those sorts of things, but you simply click this last little piece on for an extra bit of protection. And what you can do, these little holes right here, they're used to zip tie down your antenna, because your antenna is going to lie flat out the back like this. There's no room for a pigtail or anything like that, and you simply zip tie it and hold it fast just like that. So all in all, a pretty cool little frame, but not too much ingenuity, because like I said before, it is just a clone of the QAVR. Right here, what I want to do, let's put it together and have a look what it looks like when you've made the entire frame up. So let's check that out in 3, 2, 1. Rightio, so here it is, and the only two little things I've left out are this little back piece right here, because I just actually forgot to put that on, and this little bit right in here, but that's I've left that out so you can see the spaces that we have inside. But overall, you can see it is a very, very cool looking frame, very, very compact, and this thing is going to be slicing through the air. And I think this is probably the best sort of designs when it comes to if you want to carry a GoPro or something like that, because it's still got a little bit of length, but it's going to spread that weight really, really well. Or if it's a pod, pods are usually taller, so this is sort of a bit of a hybrid between a long frame and also a little pod. So very, very cool design. Other than that, you've got to remember you don't have too much space in here to put all your components together, but with the HS1177 or whatever FPV camera you do put in sort of sticking out the top right here, you are going to have a little bit more room in that part, because usually they're down in the front and they're taking up a lot of room, but by having it sticking up a little bit higher, you're going to have just that little bit of extra space underneath if you need it. So should be very, very interesting to see how we build this and just how it comes together. Rightio, so that's the frame. Let's jump over and have a look at some of the other kits. So let's have a look at the flight controller, because it is a F3 flight controller. Rightio, now the flight controller that you get in this kit is a flight controller. It's very, very familiar to me. It is the SPF3. So this is I've used more of these, I guess, than in any other of my builds. So there's more of these on my wall than any other flight controller out there. There are some better flight controllers out there, but once you put Betaflight on these things, they are rock solid. I really, really like them. Some people have issues with these little parts snapping off just here, so I suggest if you are using these, put some hot glue around them. But other than that, I've had no issues, and trust me, I've used my fair share of these, so they've been great. This version actually comes with clean flight flashed on it, which is a bit of a shame, because I do wish these things would come flashed with Betaflight. But overall, a very, very solid little flight controller. I really, really like these boards. Now very quickly, we should probably also look at this. So this is the PDB. This is nothing special at all. You just have some 5 volts and 12 volts right here. I guess I think your positive is all on this side, your ground is all on this side, so that can make wiring a little bit difficult if you're using one of these. So they're not the best PDB. Nothing special, but also still reliable and fine to use. And then we probably move on to the interesting parts of the build. So the motors, the ESCs, and the props. Now let's start on the outside and work our way in. What I would like to talk about first is actually the props. Now the props we've got, these are the, well, I didn't realize they were Dell. These are actually Dell branded props, the 5045 bullnose, and about 12 months ago, this is what I was using exclusively. This used to be my go-to prop before I switched to the tri-blade Dells, so I'm very, very familiar with this. They seem to have, I think they have a pretty decent top speed actually, but they do chew down the amps and suck down the air, and look at that massive bullnose on there. So they're a fairly inefficient prop, but you do get a fair amount of thrust out of them, and they're very reliable too. Like, they're not going to snap or break very easily. They're very, very robust. But in my opinion, they're not quite as good as the new Dell, the Dell tri-blades, or any of the 5040 tri-blades or anything like that. These things are just too amp heavy, and they actually sound different in the air. It really sounds like it's grabbing the air, like a chomp 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 sort of sound as it's going around, compared to the tri-blade as well. So these are not my favorite prop, but I guess like if I had to fly with them, I wouldn't complain. But there's definitely better props out there. Let's have a look at the motors that it's rocking. So the motors, now this is interesting because I've never seen these motors before. Now I know it's very light in here, so maybe without the reflection, but what it actually says on there is FLYColor MT 2204 2300 kV. So and these come in clockwise and counterclockwise threads, so you can put them on each of your motors. But I feel like this MT motor, the 2204, I don't know if that's going to be big enough spinning in here, so it's going to be very, very interesting. I couldn't find too much data on these motors at all when I was sort of searching around, and I do wonder, is it going to be using the new N52 magnets, or probably what I'm suspecting is that it's going to be sort of like the older style of motor that we might have had about 6 months ago, 12 months ago, because that sort of would be keeping in tradition with these props. So I'm going to be interested to see how these go, but in my opinion, 2300 kV is perfect for 5-inch frames, and the 2204, I guess the stator length in here, the 4mm stator, could probably be a little bit bigger. I think most frames and most people are flying nowadays with 2205. So I'll be interested to see how they go when we actually stick a battery on there. But they are rated for 4S, which is great. And then the last part of our build, we have some of these. Now these are the FLYColor 20 amp BL Heli ESCs, and they are not BL Heli S, so they are just the plain BL Heli, and I think that's a bit of a shame because for the price difference, maybe they got these in a bulk order or something like that, but for the price difference, I really wish they had some BL Heli S in here, because I know you can get BL Heli S ESCs. I'll show you some actually, just the same brand of this as. So this one here is a BL Heli S ESC, so you can see they do make them, and this one's a 30 amp, and you can see the difference is, you know, they're pretty much the same size. So a little bit of a shame that they've used these actually, because in my opinion, I love flying around with BL Heli S. I think it's really smooth. I really love the low throttle response that you can get with it. I'm sorry, excuse me. I really love the response you can get even when you're at low throttle. I feel like it really makes a difference for my flying anyway. So I'm a big fan of BL Heli S, so it's a little bit of a shame that they have these in here. Now these are burst rated to 30 amps, so they should be fine on these motors specifically, because they are rocking just the 2204 size, so I don't think they're going to be pulling too many amps. But it will be interesting to see how they go. So pretty much for muchness, I would say pretty average ESCs here. So not the worst. Look, there definitely could be some worse, and 12 months ago I'd be more than happy to fly with these, but also not the best. Alrighty, so we've got all this. What we actually need to do, let's put it together. I'm going to put some FPV gear in here, because that's something that you need to be mindful. You don't have any, and you still need to get, if you're going to fly this thing FPV, you still need your FPV camera, your VTX, and also your antenna. So I'm going to go track down some of those, but let's put this thing together with all the kit and put some FPV gear in there and see how it goes. So let's check that out in 3, 2, 1. Rightio, there it is. Don't you just love editing? I know I do. Imagine if all your builds were that easy. Rightio. So I've put everything in here, and I've got to say, I really like the look of this quad. I really like how compact it is, and I really like how you've got all that weight centered right here, and it's going to be great for carrying my GoPro camera on the top just here. I think that's really good frame design, but I guess I can't compliment too much on that because it is a bit of a clone frame. Everything seemed to go together very well, although you do need to be a little bit space conscious in here, so I know I was trying to keep my stack very short. I ended up using just a 25 milliwatt VTX in the back, and my receiver, I've actually just sort of loosely mounted that in there because I do plan to be sticking that in another build, but that's just an XSR. But everything seemed to go really nicely in here. I love the camera angles that you can get on the front, so you can get some massive camera angles right here, so it should hopefully be going very fast. And something I didn't notice when I first looked at the frame, right here you still have access to your dip switches, depending on what VTX you're using, but you still have access to your dip switches or buttons or anything like that if you do need to change your VTX channel. Now I've just put a rubber ducky on mine because well, I had to permanently put it to this frame, and I didn't want to permanently stick like one of my good circular polarized antennas on here just yet, because I still wasn't sure how these motors were going to go. In terms of the build process, it was very straightforward. I didn't have any issues with any of the wires or anything like this. The ESCs are very easy to solder to. So yeah, overall, not too bad at all. Some of the little extras, I did put in this little bit of Velcro sticky part on the bottom, so my battery's not going to slide around. But What I do really wish on this frame, and just right here, I wish there was a little cutout so I could just zip tie down my XT60, because what is going to happen in a bad crash, if my battery gets jettisoned and gets rocketing away, all that pressure's going to go straight to my PDB and possibly just rip this off the end, maybe exposing 2 wires or causing a short or something like that. So really we need a little bit of strain relief in the bottom of the frame, especially because this is made to be a frame where you mount your battery on the bottom. Alright, yeah, so with all that said and done, let's jump down to the field and put this thing up in the air and see how it goes, because I like the build, I like the frame, but I do have some questions about the motors and the ESCs, I guess the real power behind it, so I'll be very, very interested to see how it goes. So let's cut down to my local flying spot where I do all my testing in 3, 2, 1. Rightio, down here about to Maiden this little quad. This lens looks filthy actually, but let's see how she goes. It's a nice beautiful afternoon, just finished work, not much wind, so should be good. So here we are on board, and I'm just going to apologise for that little GoPro protector or my HD camera mount around the outside. That's why you actually can see that sort of grey plastic part, because it's protecting my lens. But right here, this part's very interesting, because this is one thing that I really did notice. When you hit flat stick, trying to go as fast as you can, I guess it really felt, the word to describe it is lackluster, so it really felt like it was missing out. It reminded me a lot of how my quads felt maybe about 12 months ago when I was flying around on some old Emax motors, like before the red bottoms or anything like that came along. So I was a little bit disappointed in its power, and I definitely think that's because of its smaller size motors there, the 2204 things. So you can see this is full chat, so nowhere near as fast as the Helix or some of the other frames. Look, it's still got plenty of speed, and it is still a very, very capable quad, but it just didn't have the quite enough of that wow factor to really knock your socks off when you sort of really hit the throttle. In terms of its flips and rolls, it did feel very, very responsive, so as you can see there, and it's stopping on a dime, and I have actually flashed this one to beta flight, so that might be something to do with why it is feeling so good in the air. I did only have a 25 milliwatt VTX in here though, so that's not great at going all the way around and through all these bricks. So I think I did a second pass or something like that, so it did get a little bit sketchy when it's going through there, especially through that chimney, which you guys ask me about all the time. And I did lose my video feed right there because it just broke up, it just wasn't powerful enough. But overall, look, I was happy with the performance except for the amount of power that it had. So it really didn't do, I guess, a 4S battery justice compared to some of the newer motors out here. So really, it feels like I guess a little package that might have been great to fly 6 to 12 months ago, but in today's sort of day and age of quadcopters, there's a lot better motor technology out there. Still plenty of fun, and I wouldn't complain if someone said, hey, do you want to fly this, and I needed a backup. But as far as raw performance goes, I think it felt a little bit lacking. So there it is, there's my review of the GB210, and I guess my overall feeling of this thing is it's lackluster. Like it's a full carbon frame, but it is a clone of the UAVfutures, which I think is a really, really cool frame anyway, and that's probably why so many people have cloned them. The ESCs, they're not BLES, and the flight controller's fine, I don't mind the flight controller. But I guess in terms of the props that come with it and the motors, that just felt a little bit lackluster or lacking in power. Now, a big shout out to Gearbest, because originally I did have one for the review, but they sort of emailed them and asked if I could do a bit of a giveaway, so they're more than happy to come to the party, so that's why we've got two kits to give away. And that's really to give back to my Patreon supporters. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to post a little bit of a video with some more details and that on my Patreon channel, and I'll leave a link somewhere either up here or down below in the description where you can check those out if you want to find out, I guess, how to win one of these things. But subscribe for more FPV related content. I'm going to leave you with the rest of this flight footage of this thing flying around, and as always, happy flying! That'll teach me for using 25 milliwatts. Don't try to go through all these bricks.
that open, fly down it.
That's what I want to do. I do want to fly down that.